Hi everybody, my name's Levi, and this is going to be the first of a few videos that I'm going to be doing on how to set up your consoles with your OSSC. I didn't really see any videos out there other than FireBrandX's optimal timing videos that I saw on, I think it was the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, so I figured I would make a video showing all the settings that I use that are from his optimal profiles and to show you how to set up various consoles. Today we're going to be focusing on the Nintendo Wii, since there is no optimal profile for that, and I made this profile myself, and I figured it would help people that have trouble with their Wii and setting up as we go. So I made this video in mind for people that know how to use their OSSC and how to set it up in mind. If you don't know how to set up your OSSC or you need like a crash course, I'll link some guides down below, some videos on how to set it all up. This is just for people that actually know how to navigate their OSSC and how to use stuff. So in order to capture your Wii, you're going to need an OSSC. I'm also going to put pictures up on the screen as we go by, so that way you can see what I need. So you need an OSSC at the very least. You need some component cables for your Wiis, so you can either use the ones that there's some aftermarket ones you can get. I know that HD Retrovision has some good ones. Those are the ones I'm currently using. And you need to have some way to display it out to your to a CRT or some other external device. Not everybody's setup is exactly the same. For instance, I'm using the Wii goes into my OSSC, and then it goes out HDMI to an HDMI splitter. One signal goes into my capture card, my Elgato internal capture card in my PC, so you guys can see it right now, and then the other half goes to a HDMI to VGA splitter or adapter, and then I have it on a compact V75 old school 4x3 PC CRT, so that way I can get that old retro feel. So that's what you're seeing. So first thing you're going to want to do is power on your OSSC once you have everything hooked up, and you should know how to do that. If not, there's various videos on how to do that. But first thing you're going to see when you power on your OSSC and you've got all of your connections on is you're going to see this splash page that has the gradient. That's usually what it comes stock. So the first thing you're going to want to do on your remote, if you do have a remote, is you're going to want to change it to, you're going to see number 2 on the bottom of the remote. You're going to want to change it to YPBPR, which is component. So I'm going to do that now on mine. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. First of all, you got to power on your Nintendo Wii, which let me do that first. Then you change it to YPPBR. And there we go. So all of my settings are already dialed in, first and foremost. Let me go ahead and go to the screen here so you guys can just see everything. Now give me a second, actually. There's a bit of audio desync with this. I forgot that when I set this up. Give me 1 second. This should fix it. Sorry. First video I've done for these, so it's going to be a little trial and error. Alright, so there we go. So this is what I currently have for my Nintendo Wii. Right now, it is a 480p signal being line doubled to 1280 by 960. And that's essentially it. Now, like I said, there was no profile for the Nintendo Wii to be used with the OSSC. There's profiles for everything else as far as FireBrandX has, but there's none for that. So I'm just going to keep it at this screen for now, and then once I'm done showing you all of my settings, then we'll go ahead and throw a game on. I also want to keep in mind that this is for the 4:3 aspect ratio. Everything will be exactly the same for 16:9. Now, if you're not sure of how to change that in your Wii settings, I'll go ahead and show you. So with your Wii, you want to go to Wii. You want to go to Wii Settings. You want to go to Screen, and you want to go to Widescreen Settings, and you want to either have it on standard 4:3 or widescreen 16:9. I personally prefer the 4:3 just because I have an old PC CRT that has that, and it just fits better that way. If you want to put it on a widescreen TV, like an HD TV, be my guest. But if you go to use this on this setting on like a LCD screen or anything 16:9, it's going to have that letterboxing. So just keep that in mind. But today, for all intents and purposes, just because it's what I have, today's tutorial is going to be set up for standard 4:3. There's honestly only one change in difference as far as the optimal settings go, and when I get to that point, I'll explain it. So yeah, just for all intents and purposes, that's what that's going to be for. So let's get into some of the settings. So as I said before, the OSSC is a line double or triple or quadruple or quintupler. It can go all the way up to 5x depending on what you can do. Unfortunately for 480p, it can only be line doubled. It can't go any higher than that. Now, like 240p and all the other various ones can. So some of these settings that I'm going to be showing you in a minute will, I'm going to try to explain them to the best of my knowledge. Some of it may not make sense, but if it's just as easy for you to just, actually, well, I have it here. OSSC guide. Just a setup guide. So if there's anything I can kind of just revert to, because like I know what most of the settings mean, but some of the things may not make sense. So if I can just read what it says, it'll make a lot of sense to you. So if you're curious to what an OSSC is, it's open source scanline converter, and essentially it is taking an analog signal from your various consoles, whether it be RGB SCART, component, and VGA, which are the ones it takes, and it outputs it to a digital signal, either using DVI on older builds or HDMI. And essentially that's what it is. So let's go through some of the settings here, and I'll explain what they do. All right, so I was just going to show like the LCD screen off of my actual OSSC, but there's no point in doing that. That way I can record this and you guys can see all of this here. So this is what you're going to see. So just make sure you just follow the settings along and see what works. And then I'm also going to do a comparison with scanline options, because I like to use scanline, artificial scanlines, and there is a settings that I use that I found on a Reddit post that make it look really well. It looks pretty much identical, at least to me, to like a Sony Trinitron, which if you can't afford one of those expensive PVMs or BVMs, it does the job well. All right, so first thing you want to do is you're going to want to go in video and proct. Keep video LPF on auto, and video LPF is basically, it is a low pass filter. Now you could set it to 16 EDTV 16 if you wanted to, because that's suitable for 480p if you want to, but on auto is fine. Auto will automatically select it based on input source and video mode, so you can keep that on sign. Rec 709, this is your color space. 709 is fine if you want. And some of these settings as far as colors go, it's all personal preference. So if I want to change it to 609, there is a slight color difference. I can't really notice anything. It's negligible to me. Yeah, I really can't notice anything. Now, a lot of these settings are going to come stock on your OSSC, and you don't need to change them. Things that I know that have to be changed, I will let you know. So all of these are going to be exactly the same, so you don't need to worry about any of these things. Next thing, we're going to go to sampling options. Now, this one's important. Now, this is going to be at a per case individual scenario. So I'm using a PC CRT that's 640 by 480 at 60 hertz. So at 480p, I have it on VESA. Now, depending on what you have, it's probably going to change. Yeah, it's going to change the signal now because I'm cycling through. But I have you can put it on auto. I would put it on auto if I was you, unless you know you're using a PC CRT. Then you could go to VESA. You can also use DTV 480p depending on what you're using. So here, let me look to see what the thing says. It says, yeah, for auto, it's going to use VESA 640 by 480p if the H-sync length exceeds 3, and otherwise DTV 480p. So basically, if you want to have it on auto, it'll auto do it for you. But for me, I know I'm using a this type of PC monitor, so that's fine. This is the same. We're not using 400p, so that's fine. Allow TVP HP LL2X. You can have that on. It is on by default, which is fine. Now, there's a setting here called Allow Upsample 2X, and essentially it makes the Wii picture look crisper, a little bit crisper. Now, I know that Wii output is always going to look a little bit blurry. There's just nothing you can do about that. It's just how it is. making a Wii look really good is really hard, but you can do the best of with what you can. So for instance, if you don't want to use that, it'll change it just a little bit and make it not look so crispy. If you like that softness touch to your Wii setting, you can keep that off. But for me, I like the little bit of crisper. It doesn't bother me too much. I'm not that finicky about it. So you can turn it back on, and it'll give it a little bit of crispness. Now, we're going to go to advanced timings. Now, this is the important thing. This is basically the bulk of what you want to do for what you want to use for optimal timings for this. So, your H sample rate is going to be 858 for both 4x3 and 16x9 modes. This is going to be 0. Your H sync length is going to be 96. Your H back porch is going to be 48. Your H active is going to be 640 if you're using 4x3, or 720 if you're using 16x9. Now remember what I said earlier. If you are using the 16x9, change this to 720. But if you're not, use 640. So the 858 for the H sample rate is going to always be 858 regardless of the modes. But if you just keep that in mind depending on what you're going to want to use. But since I'm using a 4x3 monitor for my Wii, that's what I'm going to be using. Your V sync length is going to be 2. Your V back porch is going to be 33. And your V active is going to be 480. Now, the sampling phase is on a per person basis. Now, what sampling phase does is essentially you want to use it. Basically, you dial it in to make sure there's any horizontal or vertical interference on the screen. Now, a good way to use this, and I don't have it on my Wii right now, you can get it for the homebrew channel if you soft mod your Wii, is there's a suite called the 240p suite. And it's pretty much readily available for almost every older console. I've got it for my Super Nintendo, and you can get it for everyone like that. You can find it online. And essentially, there's a test mode that you can use that lets you dial that in. But for me, 180 is what works best. But yeah, it's just what it is. All right, so that is the end of that. So hit back on your remote to back out, and we're done with sampling options. Sync output. Nothing really to change here, but I'm just going to go through the settings anyways. Analog sync low pass filter is off. Analog STC LPF is going to be set to 4.8 for an HD TV or a PC. So mine's set to that because I'm using a PC monitor. All the rest of this stuff should be just exactly the same. Since we're using a 480p signal, we're not really using a really older console that might have sync issues or jitter problems. None of the stuff really needs to worry about with that. Output options. Now, you're going to see a whole bunch of options here. Now, like I said, most of if you're a new person, you're trying to do this, I'll just explain it anyways. Essentially, these are all the different types of video modes, or I guess, the modes for depending on what you're wanting to use. Now, since we're only doing, this has a 480p signal coming in, nothing's going to matter unless I change the 480p setting here. So for 240p consoles, you would adjust this to what you want it to be, 384p, 480i, 480p. So 480p is what this is about. So 480p, we're using a line 2x. So that essentially is taking the 480p signal and it's line doubling it to 960. 1280 by 960, so it's doubling the resolution. So that's really the only one you got to worry about. You could use pass-through if you want. When I use pass-through, it just makes the screen I have to stretch my monitor out and everything, and it just makes it look weird just trying to do it. At least with when I do the Line 2X, it fits my monitor perfectly. There's a slight narrow, as you can see at the top of the video of both of these, how there's that little black bar. It's kind of like that around the edges of my monitor, but a little bit thinner. It's not terrible. It fills it exactly enough how I wanted it to be filled. And then Line 4X mode, you can just keep it on generic 4x3. All the other ones are going to be for 320 by 240 or all the other modes. Like I can cycle through it. Yeah, all the other ones, like all the older resolution ones that you'd find on like a Nintendo or Super Nintendo or a PlayStation for that matter. But yeah, you just keep that on generic 4x3. Nothing else in this needs to be changed. HDMI for TX mode and all that needs to be exactly the same as well. So yeah, just keep it like that. Now, hit back. We're going to go to scanline options. Now, this is personal preference. I just want to keep that in, I'm going to keep that in mind that this is personal preference. There are currently no scan lines on right now. Now, I keep on forgetting to save this, but this is fine. I'm going to let you guys see a comparison of what it looks like with scan lines. The special scan lines, it's not really special, this scan line setting that I found on a Reddit post that I really like. So what you're going to want to do, if you want to do these scan lines, you just turn it to on. You want to set the scanline strength to 18. As you see, it got a little dark. You can already start to see some lines on there, but we're not done yet. So we want to scroll all the way down to scanline type, and we want to go to custom. Go down to custom scanlines. We want to change this to 18, 0, 0, 18, 50. Now, as you can see, now there's lines on the screen. I wouldn't turn that one on, though. So, just to show you, with scan lines... Oh, wait, hold on. With scan lines, without scan lines. With, without. So, it's all personal preference. I personally prefer the scan lines, but I'll keep them off just for this thing. But yeah, that's what it looks like without. It kind of makes the picture a little bit darker, but that's what it would look like on like a Sony Trinitron. It looks really nice. I like it. So I'll keep it off for the rest of this for this little tutorial here. All right, post-proc, you don't really need to adjust anything in that. That's just horizontal and vertical masks and stuff like that. There's also a latency tester if you really need it. None of this stuff is really applicable for this guide. I'm just going through all the settings. Compatibility, also nothing needs to be changed on here. These are just like very specific instance stuff that you would use depending on what they are, what they're labeled as, honestly. Audio options, also nothing needs to be changed at all for that. And then we have settings options. Now, I've got profiles for every single one of my consoles. As you can see, I'm going to be doing a video for every console I have. So look forward in the future. This is the Nintendo Wii one. We're going to be doing one for the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 1, the SNES, the Dreamcast, the Nintendo 64, and Super Nintendo, the regular NES, and the Sega Genesis. And I'm going to be doing videos for that, and I'm going to be going through all the pictures, or all the sets here, just like I did with that. All these other things that are on here are also just other options that you can look through. I'm going to link the guide to the OSSC, so you can look to see what everything is that you need it to do. Now, just to show you how things look, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play a game real quick. Just to kind of just give you guys a little bit of a showing on what needs to be done. But yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So, go ahead and get the Wii. Good old Wii Sports, one of my favorites. So you can see that the part of the right side of the screen gets cut off here. For the life of me, I cannot get this to like fit in the window. It should be just like this. And I've tried everything and I lose sync, but it's just for that. I don't know if it looks better in a 16:9, but for 4:3, it just gets incredibly cut off, and I don't know why. So, you know, just for all intents and purposes, we'll go to some golf here, just to give you guys kind of a bit of a preview of what this is going to look like for you guys. And like I also said, just to kind of give you, since now that we're actually in a game, let's see what with scan lines now. Like I said, so this is what it would look like with the scan lines: on, off, on, off. So it's a little bit darker, but doesn't look too bad. So let's play a little bit of golf for a few minutes. Now, there's going to be some color variances that you're going to see depending on monitors, just because not everything's the same. But as far as the picture works well. Honestly, the only thing that changes is depending on if you're using 16:9 or 4:3. And stuff like that. But yeah, I really didn't see much of a, like I didn't see anything set up for the Wii, so I kind of just did it myself. It's very similar to using like a GameCube.
Nice on.
But yeah, I'm terrible at this. Terrible at golf. But yeah, I think that would be a good stopping point for this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to put links to everything below. I'm going to put a link to the optimal timings page that's going to show you all the optimal timings for all the various consoles for the wiki. I'm going to link the OSSC. I'm going to link FireBrandX's website as well, which has all the other optimal timings profiles that you can use with your OSSC. I'm not going to explain how to import them. There's videos for that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm not sure which console I'm going to do next, but keep on a lookout for that. So if you want to see these videos, make sure you give me a follow and such. So that way you can see when these come out. So if you have any questions or anything, or if you want to contact me, feel free to do so. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, everybody.